This is lesson 3 on trigonometry. This is a lesson aimed at problem solving. So the lesson objective today is to be able to solve worded problems and other mixed trigonometry questions. So for example, you may have to do trigonometry twice, using your answer from the first section to help you with the second part, and so on. Because one of the first mistakes students make is that they'll rush in. So reading a question is crucial. Usually reading it more than once. Now, it's something that it kind of goes without saying, and sometimes we take for granted. You all going to turn around and say, yeah, I always read the question. Okay, but reading it carefully, maybe underlining the key words, understanding what it's asking, it's really important. So reading a question, particularly a worded question, is crucial. Sketching a diagram is another really good idea, a good skill to get in the habit of doing. So whenever you've got a question, it doesn't have to just be trigonometry, but whenever you've got a worded question, trigonometry is a very good example for this, but there are other places. Pythagoras, it works well for some other shape questions, bearings, for example. But sketch a diagram for yourself. If something's talking about a kite flying in the air and the length of the string, or somebody's stood at the top of a ladder and they're looking down, the examiners design these questions to try and confuse you, but by simplifying it, by drawing a diagram, you will make it easier for yourself. Being clear on what details you have. So once you've drawn a diagram, being able to put information on that diagram is another very useful skill. So you draw yourself your ladder leaning against a wall, or you draw yourself somebody, a string with a kite at the end of it, and then writing the details. Well, if they tell you the length of the string, then you can put that on there. If they tell you the kite is 10 meters in the air, then you can put that as the height. So adding details to your diagram. And then this, again, it's part of reading the question, really, understanding what the question's asking you. So it's all well and good drawing a diagram. It's all well and good reading the question. But if you've done that and then you're still sitting there thinking, I don't know what to do, that's because you don't understand what it's asking. So what is the question actually asking you to work out? Is the question saying work out an angle? Is the question saying work out the height? Is the question saying work out the length of something? And above all, particularly with this topic, spot the triangles. So, they'll talk about things leaning against walls, or somebody standing at the top of a cliff looking down at something on the floor. There are usually triangles you can draw in situations like this. Right, here is a good example. So I've left those bullet points up at the top there. Reading the question. Read the question. Sketching a diagram. Well, a ladder is leaning against a vertical wall. So here's the wall, here's the ground. The ladder is leaning against it. There's my ladder. Now straight away, hopefully, you can all see the triangle. I can see it. It's a right angle triangle. But without that diagram, that question, I'm sure you'll be looking at it thinking, I'm not sure what to do. But now that there's a diagram, it's a little clearer. I now need to add some details to the diagram. So the third bullet point at the top there, add some details to your diagram. So the details that I've got is, it makes an angle of 20 degrees with the ground. So I can put 20 degrees there. The ladder makes an angle with the ground of 20 degrees. The foot of the ladder, that means the bottom of the ladder, is 3 meters away from the wall. So this distance here is 3 meters. Now, spotting that triangle, the fifth bullet point, which I haven't written up here, but spotting that triangle, you can all replace this slightly complicated looking drawing, you can replace with a very simple looking drawing. This is just a triangle that looks like this. 3 meters at the bottom, 20 degrees here, and the question is asking, be clear what it's asking you, find the length of the ladder. You need to work out that length. Okay? Now, I'm going to ask you to pause the video now and try and do that bit yourself. Because up to now, we've been doing, this is new, the problem solving element, but this bit here, this is just normal trigonometry. So, I'll give you a second now, pause the video, have a go at this part of the question, please. So going through the answer then nice and quickly. First step, label the triangle. That's the opposite side. That's the hypotenuse. That's the adjacent. Second step, write down SOHCAHTOA and cross out SC and T. That represents the angle, remember. And then we cross out the thing that we have. So in this case, we have A. Just get my laser pointer. So we have A there. So I can cross out the A's. And what you're looking for, which in this case is H, the hypotenuse. And now looking at the SOH, the CA, and the TOA, which one is all crossed out? Clearly it's CAH, cos. And then finally you cover up the thing you're looking for. Use the formula triangle as you normally would in maths and in science. This tells me to do A divided by C. In other words, adjacent side 3 divided by cos 20. Okay? Put that in your calculator, you get that. It doesn't tell you what to round it to, so in these situations, you round to 3 significant figures. So that would be 3.19, and don't forget your units, it's in meters, and that's the answer. Now, the next thing to look at is words that you may get tricked by. So in worded questions, sometimes with or without a diagram, there will be these words, elevation and depression. Okay, now elevation and depression in the context of maths really means lifting something. So elevation is how high you lift, and depression is how low you look or how low you go. So I think a better way to think about this is with an example on the mini whiteboard. So I'm just going to show you that now. So as an example then, if I have a plane, which I'm just going to sort of write plane flying up here, and we have the ground down here, and let's say there's somebody standing at the ground here, immediately you should be able to spot a triangle that could be formed here. So we've got the height that the plane's traveling at, and where the person is. So there's your triangle, okay? Now, I mean, strictly speaking, that's the triangle I'm looking at here because I'm going to the person's eye line. Okay, so how high the person, or what angle the person has to look up, that is called the angle of elevation. So this here, let's say this person has to look up, I don't know, 30 degrees. So 30 degrees from the horizontal. This would be called angle of elevation. Okay, and the angle of depression of the plane, so the plane's flying, how far the plane has to look down, if I just draw a dotted line here, this here would be called the angle of depression. Okay, so that would be how far the plane has to look down. And for anybody who is clearly on the ball, you'll notice that these two horizontal lines are parallel, which makes this an alternate angle, which means this would also be 30 in this situation. Okay, so the angle of elevation of this person on the ground looking up will be the same as the angle of depression of this plane looking down. Okay, now a further thing just to add to this is you can, from this information, work out a lot of other things. So if I know that this is 30 and this is 30, I can work out this angle here because this forms a right angle, so this would have to be 60. And if you know that that's 60 and that's 30, I mean obviously this one would be a right angle anyway, you know that because it forms a right angle. Horizontal and vertical come to meet together at a right angle. So you should hopefully be able to see there that the angle of depression, the angle of elevation, there is a relationship between the two things. Okay? Okay, so here are 7 questions for you to try now. For the first 5, you will need to draw your own diagrams. So when you submit this, because you're going to, as normal, take a picture of your solutions and submit it onto class charts. When you do so, your teachers will be expecting to see 5 diagrams drawn out for the first 5, and and the two here that are already drawn for you, you can draw them yourselves, or indeed just show you're working out. But certainly for the first 5 questions, I want to see your diagram. So draw the triangles out, try and visualize the triangle, visualize the situation, and draw it out. Okay, remember to go through the steps on the earlier slide. So if you want to rewind the video, please do so. Read the question carefully, draw yourself a sketch, add the details that you've got onto your sketch, and then check that you know what the question's asking for, and then draw your triangles. Really, try and spot the triangles. Please do that now and take a picture of your solutions and upload to complete your remote learning for today's lesson. Good luck with that.